Happy WrestleMania week, guys, and welcome back to #AskGSM here today, episode 384 for Wednesday, April 7, 2021. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. What a week it's been. What a week it's going to be. Real quickly, and I'll try to get through everything I can mention right off the top of my head. We have huge interviews going up pretty much every fucking day of the week here on the channel. If you're not already subscribed, one, why the hell haven't you already done so? But the second thing being, you gotta do so right now. We've already had interviews go up this week with Tommy Bechtold of New Rockstars, non-wrestling related, but I thought it'd be a good time to drop it. He's a great dude, chatted for him for about an hour a couple of weeks ago, dropped it yesterday here on the channel. My interview, if it's not up already, it should be, with the X Division champion, or ex-X Division champion that is, the former X Division champion from Impact, Rohit Raju. Spoke to him as well a few weeks ago to talk about the move to Thursday nights for Impact Wrestling starting tomorrow. On the WWE front, coming up this week, I can tell you a few names off the top of my head. A few others have yet to be revealed. But I already spoke to Kyle O'Reilly. That is coming up hopefully tomorrow to preview TakeOver Stand and Deliver. The article/audio should be up here on the channel tomorrow, so check that out. Miz and Maurice had the chance to speak to them last Friday. They were awesome, as always, no pun intended. That interview should be up in the next few days. Today I'm talking to John fucking Cena, which is crazy. I can't even believe I'm saying that. But yeah, later today I'm talking to John Cena. That will not be up until after WrestleMania at the earliest, probably within the next week, a little bit after that. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'm recording that today, and then at least 3 other interviews I have yet to reveal. Two going up tomorrow, and the third one going up on Friday. So again, it is a loaded WrestleMania week. Please check all of it out here on the channel. In addition to, obviously, this video, the WrestleMania predictions for myself and Mr. Marceau. Those should start to go up tomorrow. Network content reviews, if I have the time to watch this stuff, I'll be breaking it down. If not, just interviews through WrestleMania weekend. And then some cool stuff even after WrestleMania as well. So, again, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. I greatly appreciate the support. You guys have been fucking awesome all week. Another cool thing I got to share. I got a couple other cool things coming up that I've yet to disclose. But just yesterday, I got to take part in the NXT Global Press Conference. I had to take over Stand and Deliver tonight and tomorrow. I had not 1, not 2, but 3 questions asked and answered. It was sent out by Wade Barrett, which was really cool. He was the one able to ask the question on my behalf. I had questions answered by Karrion Kross, Jordan Devlin, and Adam Cole. So that was really fucking cool. And you can check all those clips out on my Twitter right now. I'll try to post them here to YouTube. I'm not sure if they would get copyrighted by WWE. They probably would be, but I'll try to upload them anyway. But to be able to partake in that was also super cool. And again, I cannot stress this enough. That was only the tip of the iceberg in terms of what is to come in the remainder of WrestleMania week from yours truly. So please stay tuned. Be excited. It is a great time to be a subscriber here to the channel. And just to be a wrestling fan in general, a lot of cool stuff going on right now. So we got to get right into it. I am very pressed for time. I have to transcribe literally 5 or 6 different interviews. Not just today, but starting today. I have literally no time. So I might have to go a little bit quick with some of these questions. And hopefully we'll be back to normal next week. We'll see. We'll start with the YouTube questions, and I forgot to mention this. If you want to send in a question here to the show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights. I forgot this week. I apologize. It was just that busy. Or just put your question on the wall itself if you want to send it in through Facebook. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video, and I'll be sure to include it in next week's edition. Let's get right into the first question from Jeremiah P, I believe, from YouTube. I think that's how you pronounce your first name. If it's not, I apologize. You feel free to correct me. Your question was, I get the storyline between Sasha versus Bianca, but the green babyface versus egotistical babyface champion storyline for the SmackDown Women's Championship. The problem is that and the question's all over the place, but I wanted to include it because they raise a good point. They say the problem is up until Sasha slapping Bianca at Fastlane. Bianca has been coming off as a heel, more than Sasha. Now, a couple of wrestling insiders think that Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley is going to close out night one of WrestleMania because the rating numbers for Sasha versus Bianca has not been doing good numbers. I haven't heard that, but that's just me. Not to say that you're wrong, I just haven't heard that. But you said in your opinion, I think WWE will have Drew versus Bobby close out night one of WrestleMania, with Drew winning the title. Plus Sasha losing her title and going 0-6 at WrestleMania is ridiculous. Because truthfully, their feud has just gotten started. Now, if you want Sasha to lose her title to Bianca after WrestleMania, I am all for it. What do you think? I said the exact same thing, essentially everything you just said. I am very much looking forward to Sasha and Bianca as a match. They've heated up the storyline in the last couple of weeks. The problem is that we knew this match was happening 2 months ago, even before they confirmed it for Mania. Why the fuck are we only just getting this tension between the two? The whole babyface team up thing, that whole shit. Doing it at Elimination Chamber was fine, I guess. I mean, not really, but whatever. To do it a second time at Fastlane was just a complete waste of time. It literally wasted a month of television time where they bickered back and forth, but it wasn't like rivals bickering back and forth. It was teammates bickering back and forth, and you knew they weren't going to win the fucking tag team titles. So again, what was the point of any of that? But anyway, I am looking forward to the match. I do think Sasha is winning. I really do. And not just because she has to win a WrestleMania. I mean, it would be nice. She hasn't had many long championship reigns. She's been champion now for about 6 months. I think Bianca, I don't think it's a make or break deal here with Bianca. You know, you guys hear me say all the time in the last couple of years, this person has to win at this show, otherwise what's the point? Honestly, I think with Bianca, she can afford to win the championship a little bit later. I think the momentum and the iron will still be hot with her in a month at SummerSlam or around that time. If they wait until next year, that's a different story, but I think she should be and will be champion by the end of the year. It just doesn't have to happen right now. If it does happen at WrestleMania, honestly, I think it's a win-win, to be completely honest with you. She debuted at Mania a year ago. It's a great moment if she wins it a year later. But if she loses, it humbles her. I don't think they had to have her lose. If they had her go undefeated till Mania, it would have meant more. Because then she would have been undefeated, the streak versus the championship, to a lesser extent to Taker and Batista many years ago. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the match. I just don't think, based off how WWE has built it, that honestly it feels like a main event. I said 2 months ago, you have 2 Rumble winners, you have 2 nights of WrestleMania. There's no excuse to not do Sasha and Bianca in the main event of night 1, for example. The 2 issues with that is that, 1, it's 2 SmackDown main events. Not that it really, really matters, because I think we had 2 Raw main events last year. AJ and Taker was night 1, even though it's not really a Raw match. But, I mean, it is. I mean, AJ was a Raw guy at the time, and he is now. And then night 2 is Drew and Brock. So they might not want to do 2 SmackDown title matches, night 1 and night 2. I mean, it would make up for last year. But moreover than that, Sasha and Bianca has just not been built up like a main event. Say what you will about Drew and Bobby, which I think has been, considering the circumstances, been built up fairly well. The thing with that match is that it feels like a main event. They've built it up as a main event. So to me, that makes sense to do as the main event of WrestleMania. So that's what I expect to happen. I do think Sasha's going to win. I do. Because I think everyone expects Bianca to win. Oh, it's a slam dunk. Not really. I think Sasha's going to retain, and it's, if anything, if it's not going to close, they might as well open. Because that's a great spot, the first match with fans in, over a year? That's going to be a pretty prominent spot as well. Connor from YouTube as well, their question was, I've been a Cody Rhodes fan since AEW started, despite all the weird things he's been involved in, but I'm finding it really hard to root for a guy when the entire storyline seems to exist to give national exposure to his wrestling school. This feels like the type of thing where if any other company tried to do something like this, they would get a never-ending moment or a never-ending amount of criticism. Do you think that this is going to cause fans to turn on him and or stop caring about him? He hasn't felt relevant for a while, but this is the first time I want him to just go away until they find something meaningful for him to do. Yeah, I mentioned this before here in the show. The booking of Cody Rhodes has been fucking weird now for a while. Like, I tweeted maybe about a week or 2 ago all the feuds this guy has been involved in literally less than a year. I'm not even talking about this since the start of AEW. And even if you include this since the start of AEW, you're including a lot. I mean, we're also including the Shawn Spears shit, Dustin Rhodes, Chris Jericho. I mean, Cody Rhodes has had a lot of feuds in the span of 2 years. But in the last year alone, okay, we've had MJF, coming out of Revolution, which was over a year ago at this point, so if you don't want to include that, that's fine. But he went from doing that to the Lance Archer feud, became TNT champion, had some good storyline support and good direction as TNT champion with the whole open challenge stuff. Had a lot of good matches on TV, had the Brody Lee feud over the championship, that was good, got the belt back. Okay. Got the belt back, had a couple of matches with Orange Cassidy, feuded with Darby Allin for a short while, feuded with Team Taz for a short while, seemed to be getting involved in the Sting stuff, never did. Went on to feud instead with Shaq, did that shit, and I'm probably missing some stuff too. Did the Shaq shit, was involved in the Revolution ladder match, had a one-off with Penta for no reason, and now is involved in the Nightmare Family. That's a lot of different shit in the span of just 1 year. That's ridiculous. And this is a guy that is supposed to be one of their top guys. Now, I understand him putting that stipulation in place back in Full Gear 2019 for him to never again contend for the World Championship if he lost, because he doesn't want to put the top title on himself. I feel like at some point he should. Like, I don't understand this, though. The whole idea when people say, Cody didn't put the championship on himself because people would shit on him if he did, which I understand why people would. If it makes sense, then I'm okay with it. But what I don't understand is that Kenny Omega is also an EVP, is he not? And he's the top champion, so what makes him any different? Is he not the face of AEW, so it's okay if he's champion, but not Cody Rhodes? I'm not saying bounce the belt back and forth between Cody and the Bucks and Omega. God forbid Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson is ever AEW World Champion, but it's really not that big of a deal. He is popular enough. It's not like Tony Khan is putting the fucking title on himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, Cody Rhodes is a legit top star. He's proven that. So I'm not sure if... I assume it was a him call. It was a Cody call. I don't know. But, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like they booked themselves into a corner with that stipulation, because now they have absolutely nothing for him to do. If that stipulation was not in place, I can guarantee you it would be Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing for the championship. But because it's not, I don't really know what you do. It's too early for Christian. Moxley, that feud has been run into the fucking ground. Eddie Kingston, not really. I'm not really sure what you do with Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing. I don't know what you do with Cody. The Nightmare Family shit, I have stressed this week in and week out, does absolutely nothing for me. Even if you like the swerve last week of, the Nightmare Family breaks off into two, I thought it was stupid. Yeah, the execution was fine, but it doesn't change at the end of the day. The feud still sucks. I don't give a fuck about QT Marshall. I think the guys in the stable have a lot of potential. I've seen a lot of Nick Alvarado on Dark and Dark Elevation, but they've given me no other reason to give a fuck about these guys because we know nothing about them. That's the problem. That is the problem with this whole Nightmare Family bullshit. Not to mention that QT Marshall is about as interesting as watching fucking paint dry. I mean, this guy is ridiculously generic. He literally has nothing to offer in terms of an on-air character. He seems like an amazing trainer, a good guy, and that's awesome. You can't put every nice guy you run into on the street on television. I feel like they have this mindset with AEW that you have to put every, great person on the show, and it just doesn't exactly work like that. As a wrestling promotion, you can't do that all the time. So the Cody shit is just stupid. You said, are people going to turn on him because of this? I feel like people have already turned on him. They turned on him a while ago. Cody is one of those people, he's one of the more polarizing people in AEW. If you don't like Cody, you've never liked Cody. But if you like Cody, you'll probably like him no matter what. I like Cody no matter what. His booking is shit. The booking of himself is shit, or whatever you want to call it. But I like Cody Rhodes. I think if he put the championship on himself or won the title or whatever at some point, it would make for a great moment because he's good enough. The guy can talk. He's an awesome promo. He's a very good wrestler, and he's over. He was over with the audience, and not having the fans there really hurt him. He was also teasing a heel turn for a while. That didn't go anywhere. So the booking of Cody's been all over the fucking place. I think they think, or he thinks, or whatever, that maybe by being involved with whatever, it's going to matter because, it's Cody Rhodes, so of course whatever I'm involved in is going to be interesting. Not exactly the case. We learned that a while ago with him in terms of, the fucking, God, I don't even know. What has he done? The Shaq stuff? The feud was not that great, but the match actually exceeded their expectations. Just because it's Cody Rhodes in the program with QT Marshall is not going to make me care any more than it did previously. Any more than if it was Scorpio Sky or Darby Allin or someone like that. Who cares? So, like you said, will he go away for a while? Honestly, I thought they were writing him out at Revolution or before Revolution or whatever, because Brandy, I don't know when she's having her kid. She only announced it a couple of months ago, maybe in Yeah, I don't really... Wait, when did they do that? January? Because they had the match in March. Brandy had to pull out. I don't remember when she announced that she was pregnant. Probably January. I remember Renee and Moxley announced their child in like late November. So maybe Brandy was January. I don't remember exactly. Time flies, but yeah, I don't know. I figured, okay, maybe he'll be writing himself out so we can go on, like, be home with Brandy, but he's an EVP. I don't know. I guess that just didn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. Whatever. We'll see where it goes. I just don't care right now. Brandon A., his question was, Happy Mania Week, GSM. So last week I gave you the nightmare scenarios, and this week is dream scenarios. However, I would like to get your thoughts on something else first. I know this is a busy week for you, so if you feel like you don't have the time, we can save the scenarios for next week. That would be great. I do see your question here about the scenarios. I love it. I loved and enjoyed last week's nightmare scenarios, so just to give it the justice that question deserves, to properly rank them and not rush through it, we're going to have to save that for next week if that's okay. Just because it's not Mania themed anyway, I don't think, looking at the question. So we'll save that for next week. We'll answer your first one, but either you can repost it, which would be great, in case I forget to put it in the doc for next week, which sometimes I do, but I'm really busy today, so I might forget. If you could just repost it for next week or redirect or just remind me, I'll be sure to include it. But your question for this week was this. My question is about your feelings regarding WrestleMania 32. Oh, here we go. Over the last few weeks, you have expressed your disdain for the show, but my question is actually, is it actually that bad when you really think about it? In my opinion, is it better than the last at least 10 WrestleManias? It is better than at least 10 WrestleManias. Though those early WrestleMania shows are not good. 3 is a pretty good show, but there is no way you can tell me that 32 is worse than 1, 2, 4, or 5. I'll save my thoughts until the end. People may look fondly on those because of nostalgia, but most of those shows were one-match shows with the main events. The tournament in 4 is such a chore to get through, and Rick Rude versus Jake Roberts was a huge snooze fest. AJ Jericho, the IC ladder match, and the women's triple threat were way better than anything on those 4 shows except for maybe Hogan versus Savage. I would also say everything on 32, including the worst matches, were better than anything on 9 or 11. WrestleMania 13 and 15 both one-match shows, and I would argue that 32 was also better than 16, 27, and 29. The 3 things that bring 32 down are the runtime, Reigns and not being over, and the disappointment of the Lesnar-Ambrose match. Even with the League of Nations match that nobody cared about, you still got the Austin Foley-Michaels moment. I also still maintain that the Triple H Reigns match isn't that bad. People just hated Roman, therefore people hated the match. You do the exact same match with Roman as a babyface that is actually over, and no one has a problem with it. WrestleMania 32 is not a great Mania, but I don't believe it should be looked at as one of the worst of all time either. What are your thoughts? All right, so let's break this down real quick. I haven't seen 1, 2, 4, and 5 in a while. 4 absolutely fucking sucks. I could tell you that right off the fucking bat. The tournament was terrible. Yeah, Savage becoming champion was cool, but that entire Mania, absolutely, it's one of the worst. It's not as bad as 9 or 11, but I think a lot of people, maybe sometimes myself included, grade these Manias on a curve with what the main event matches are. If you remember the main events and it was a good main event or main event matches, that's what people remember. I'm going to be completely honest. I think other than 17, maybe some other Manias, I implore you to find another fan that remembers 33, for example, for having a great undercard. I was at 33. It was my first WrestleMania. I'm biased because it's my first Mania and I very much enjoyed the experience. I'm a freak. I remember the undercard for a lot of these Manias, at least the ones that I've seen every Mania, but like all the ones that I've been a fan for. 33 had a great fucking first hour of the show. And that's not what people remember. When you say 33, people aren't thinking, other than maybe the Hardy Boys return, they're not thinking about the pretty good Jericho-Owens match. They're not thinking about Styles and Shane, which was actually a great match and one of the better matches on the show. They're not thinking about Neville and Aries on the pre-show. They're not thinking about the tag team ladder match. They're not thinking about whatever else was on that show. They're thinking about Reigns and Taker, which absolutely did suck. They're thinking about Orton and Wyatt, which absolutely did suck. You know, they had the Miz and Maurice tag team match against Cena and Nikki, which was fine for what it was, and the moment afterward, which ended up meaning nothing a year later. But yeah, people don't really remember that stuff. Goldberg and Brock had a great match, shockingly. But people don't really remember that Mania for being all that great because the main events, two out of the three main matches on that show sucked. And even Rollins and Triple H wasn't amazing either. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was far from one of Rollins' best Mania performances. And even Triple H for that matter, too. That was kind of a little bit underwhelming and a little bit longer than it needed to be. Excuse me. The other Manias that you mentioned, one I think kind of gets a pass just because it's the first one, nostalgic. 2 and 5, I agree. 5 really is. Again, if you told me what other matches were on these shows, I couldn't fucking tell you. I could not fucking tell you. So you're right. Would I rather watch 32 over 1, 2, 4, or 5? Yes, I would. Would I rather watch 32 over 9 or 11? Abso-fucking-lutely, because those two shows are terrible. Not just for the main events, but the shows they just sucked. Overall, they're just terrible. 13 and 15. You guys have heard me rant on the Attitude Era Manias before. Even fucking 14 sucked. 14 was not a great Mania either. All of those Attitude Era Manias, for as much as we love the Attitude... I mean, I don't love the Attitude Era, but for as much as people romanticize about the Attitude Era, it didn't have a great string of Manias at all. They had great main events. But that's what people, that's what people remember. They remember Shawn and Steve. They don't remember the undercard. For 13, I mean, I guess they had Taker and Psycho Sid, which was not great at all. 15, they remember Rock and Austin, but they don't remember the rest of the show, which was not that good. 27 and 29, those Manias sucked too. Those weren't really that good either. 27 was disappointing. 29 was just boring as fuck. 29 just had nothing going for it. 27 had some stuff. 29 really didn't have anything at all, aside from Punk and Taker, and that was it. And even that had a predictable outcome. 16 is just not, it's a mess. It had the tag team ladder match, but that was about it. So yeah, 32 is really not like the top 5 worst Manias, but people shit on 32 because it was easily the worst Mania of the last 7 years. I think it is. If you go back to 30 was amazing. 31 was even better, in my opinion. 32 was not a very well-rounded show. It had a pretty good undercard. Again, the ladder match was great. I would have preferred Owens and Zayn one-on-one, but whatever. The Ryder moment was cool. Jericho and AJ had a great match. The women's match was awesome, too. The Steve Austin return, for as forgettable as that New Day, League of Nations match was, the return of Steve Austin was cool. So yeah, Shane and Taker sucked, so I think that's what people remember from that show. Ambrose and Lesnar was underwhelming, and the main event just was boring as shit too. So that's why 32 gets a bad rap, and it was way too long. That was the beginning of the way too long Manias. 32 was easily worse than 30 and 31. 33 was better. 34 was pretty good. 35 I thought was pretty good too. I was there for that one. I thought the main matches delivered again. Best moment, good moments, good booking decisions for the most part. That Mania was pretty good, way too long. And even last year, honestly, I would put 36 over 32. 36 is not the worst of all time just because it had no fans. It sucked to see no one in the building for it. But some of the matches were really, really good, and I enjoyed aspects of that WrestleMania. So I think that's why, we've actually had some very good Manias in the last decade. I mean, I guess if the decade would include 27, 29, and 32. But all the other ones you mentioned are worse, in my opinion. It really is a matter of preference, and including the undercard and what matches delivered, what matches didn't. But I completely agree. I don't think 32 is even in the bottom 5, personally. And you also have to remember, too, you say, 1 was terrible. Maybe by today's standards, but back then it was huge. I mean, obviously, just different wrestling, different strokes for different folks. I mean, you look at what the card was, it worked at the time. 3 was a great show, if only for Steamboat and Savage and Hogan and Andre as a moment, not really as a match, from an in-ring standpoint. But at the time, that's what people liked. I mean, for 32, coming off the 2 greatest Manias of all time, 2 of the greatest Manias of all time, 32 was disappointing. It's way too long, and it was just, it was hard to care. Coming out of that Mania, I felt like they did more to set up shit after the fact, and on the next night's Raw than they did at Mania itself. So, those are my thoughts on WrestleMania 32. Let's get into the Twitter questions. I'm going a little long here already with the 3 questions you guys already sent in. I got to get going and do some other stuff. So at Iwagu91, and these questions are going to be all over the place, by the way. I still have a lot of, I haven't created the doc yet, so I'm still reading these off of my my Twitter likes and whatever. His first question was, do you think Triple H's belt with Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 is his best one since doing away with the signature long hair? Best Mania match or best match in general? Either way, probably yes. So Triple H shaved his head in August of 2012. Didn't have any good matches in 2013. Sorry, Triple H, but the Mania and Extreme Rules matches with Brock were good but not great. 2014, they had the Shield and Evolution matches. I would still put the Bryan one over those, even though those were fucking fantastic. 2015, he wrestled Sting. I mean, what more needs to be said about that? Excuse me. I'm trying to think. The only other match that would come to mind is the tag team match from 34. That was a fantastic match. More so for Ronda, but everyone played their role well. Triple H, Stephanie, even Kurt Angle, as broken down as he was at that point. That was a great match, too. If you asked me to rank them, or, if I had to choose one Triple H match since he shaved his head as being his best, that would be it. That is one of the greatest openers in WrestleMania history, is Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. The crowd was involved every step of the way. I know The Rock, Stone Cold and Hogan promo was what actually kicked off the show, but from a match standpoint, that was the first match on the show, and it was amazing. So, yeah, I got to go with that as his best match since he cut his hair. His other question, what are your thoughts on Riddle's U.S. title reign? It's only gotten started, so honestly, it's kind of hard to say. He just won the championship, at Elimination Chamber? He's had some good matches. The problem with Riddle, I mean, obviously he has some other problems outside of the ring. That's neither here nor there here, but as a character, his matches are fantastic. As a character, he's a fucking idiot. Like, they book him to look like such a goof, and I'm sure he's a goof in real life. I don't know the guy personally, but I talked to him enough through interviews and meeting him that, he seems like one of those type of dudes in real life. How he was in NXT is how he is in real life. I feel like they took that on the main roster and just pushed it to a 20 out of 10. Like, the guy is just a complete buffoon on Raw right now. But the thing is that he wrestles good matches, so I have no doubt Riddle and Sheamus is going to be a great match. I'm a lot like Bryan and Sheamus would have been 10 years ago when they were supposed to face off for the U.S. Championship before it got interrupted and turned into a fucking battle royal in the pre-show. Bullshit. But yeah, no, I think it's been good so far. He's had some good matches with Morrison, with Sheamus, even with Ali. But he's just booked to look like a loser. He doesn't lose a lot of matches, but like he's booked to look like a complete goof as a character. That's the problem. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Check out his YouTube channel as well. Real Honesty with John Ritland, always just great content. Given how WWE hasn't had any kind of crowded event since March 11th of last year, how do you think fans will react to both nights of Mania 37, even with limited capacity? I don't think it's going to be a case where like they love every single match just because they're back. They're happy to be back in for a wrestling show. I think it's going to be like any other WrestleMania, honestly, just with a lesser crowd. I don't think they're going to shit on everything. I think that'd be fucking dumb. I mean, people can say what they will about the build of Mania, specifically in the Raw side, it's been shit. But I think the card, honestly, has a lot of potential between the two nights and some really good matches. Some matches I don't care too much about, like Shane and Braun, who gives a fuck. But a lot of the other matches I'm looking forward to, so I think they'll react fairly well. I think that honeymoon phase of like, oh, we're back in the building, let's react crazy to everything like everyone thought it would be like a year ago, that's going to wear off pretty fucking fast, especially with the wrestling fans who are so fickle, and that shit never really sticks. They forget about it as quickly as it happened. So I expect them to be hot. I do expect them to be hot for like the first few matches at Mania, depending on what goes down, but it's going to go back to being any ordinary crowd within a very quick period on that same show or night 2 or whatever. But I'm looking forward to it though, because it's so cool to have fans back, and I'm sure they will be excited to be back. It's just it's a question of how quickly they turn on the matches, and maybe WWE will have it coming depending on what they have booked, but we'll see. His next question: what would your 5 favorite women's matches be that took place at Mania, and why? Honestly, I don't even know if I can name 5, just because I feel like up until a couple of years ago, they didn't have a lot of great women's matches at Mania. I think I can name 5, actually. That's inaccurate. Trish and Mickie will always be one of the greatest WrestleMania women's matches of all time. This is in no particular order, but my favorite women's matches, I'm not including the Lumberjill shit or the Playboy Bunny fight, all that other fucking garbage, the tag team matches, the 20-woman tag team matches and the Battle Royals, who cares? So my 5 would be Mickie and Trish from WrestleMania 32. It would be Charlotte and Asuka from WrestleMania 34. Hated the result. Hated that fucking Asuka lost. But it was a great match. My number 1... Oh, man. would probably 32 was awesome. I don't know if that'd be my number. Again, I'm not ranking them, but I'm trying to think what the greatest women's match of Mania history would be. Trish, Sasha, and Becky might be it. Either way, it's at the top of the list. You got to include that one for Mania 32. Those three matches, I loved Charlotte and Rhea Ripley last year. I thought they had a fantastic match for the NXT Women's Championship to kick off night 2, I think it was. I think it was night 2. So yeah, those 4 matches are great. And then for the 5th match, let me think. 35. I didn't love the first ever women's main event for 35. I mean, obviously, they deserved the spot. The match itself was good. It just never really got to the next level. It was pretty good. It just was kind of flat finish. Crowd wasn't into it. Show was way too long. A lot of factors there. 36. What else did we have last year? We had we had the tag title match and like a 6-woman, 5-woman elimination match. Who cares? So 34, other than Charlotte and Asuka, we had Nia and Alexa. I don't really care about that. I don't know if you would count the Rousey match. If you do, then that. The Rousey, Kurt, Triple H, Stephanie match from 34. If so, then that. If not, then 31 had a good, Bella Twins versus Paige and AJ Lee was pretty good. Not a great match, but for what it was, given the time period, it was pretty good. Yeah, either that or the 4-way women's match at WrestleMania 33, Bayley, Bang, Charlotte, and Nia was also pretty well executed as well. It wasn't the best match on the show, but it was entertaining for what it was. So it would probably be those 5 if I had to say off the top of my head. At Reborn Again, once again, John's third question, I believe it is. So Arcade Anarchy, what in the world was that? Honestly, I had no expectations for it because the feud has just done nothing for me. Best Friends versus Miro and Kip Sabian. And the stipulation sounded like trash. I thought Mimosas and Mayhem was just stupid. I thought it was dumb. That didn't deliver. That was fucking dumb. This I thought was cool. I don't know if I would want to see it again, but given the nature of the feud, I think it worked. And honestly, it was the best thing I think that I've seen coming out of this feud. It was better than the wedding shit. It was better than the Revolution match. It was better than the dumb Butler crap. It was better than any of that stuff. So honestly, I really liked the match, and the returns of Trent and even Sue and Chris Statlander I thought were great. So I honestly really enjoyed it. It was a lot better than I thought it would be. So good stuff, personally. At Iwagu91's next question here, what are your thoughts on Walter holding the NXT UK title for 2 years, and who do you think is the better champion, him or Pete Dunne? I mean, he makes sense. If anyone was going to beat Pete Dunne's record, which no one ever thought it would happen because Pete Dunne was champion for, 2 years, it would be Walter. I mean, the guy is just a monster, so I'm glad it was him if anyone to break the record. He's had a good reign. Who's been the better champion? I'll say Pete Dunne. They didn't have NXT UK in 2017 or 2018, but they did have Pete, from what I recall, defend the championship more regularly. Now, in speaking to Walter a week ago, he likes having his matches spaced out more. Because, actually, I might go with Walter. Honestly. Pete Dunne had more defenses, and he won the match. He won the title in one of the greatest, if not the greatest match of 2017 between him and Tyler Bate. But Walter might have had better matches on the whole, now that I think about it. Pete Dunne has had a lot of great matches as champion with Trent Seven, himself, I believe Jordan Devlin. Joe Coffey was good. There are Noam Dar, I think he defended the championship against, Zach Gibson, and a number of others. So, Mark Andrews maybe. They had a bunch of matches. The third match with Tyler Bate was great. So, I'm going to go with Walter, though. Walter, I feel like, has had better matches, honestly. Not as many defenses, and he was gone for 6 months due to the pandemic last year. But him and Ilya was a thing of fucking beauty. Him and Tyler Bate in 2019, a takeover, what was it? I don't remember what it was. Not Blackpool. It begins with a C. Cardiff. Cardiff, wasn't that what it was? Takeover Cardiff, Wales. That was an amazing match. I love that one, between Bate and Walter. And then even Walter and Pete Dunne, when he won the championship, I was there for that one. That was an amazing match, too. So, I feel like you said better matches on the whole. Even the A-Kid match was great. The Rampage Brown match this week should be pretty good. So, between the two, I would say Walter's been the better champion, in my opinion. At the Average Grunt, his question was, got any predictions on what the WrestleMania card, or rather the WrestleMania set, is going to look like? I, for one, will be very disappointed the wrestlers don't come out on the side of a sunken pirate ship. Why had the pirate theming if you're not going to go all out with it? Am I right? Yeah, I feel like the pirate ship's going to be a part of it. I don't really want to look at the set until Mania weekend, until Mania Night 1, but from what I've seen from drone shots on Twitter, it looks like they will have some sort of a ship. I didn't look at the exact details, but a ship will be involved. You had to fucking guess that. I mean, they have all the pirate theme. They were going to do it last year. Then they put part of the pirate ship in the Performance Center itself, which was funny. They made the most of it. Owens jumped off of it. But yeah, I think a pirate ship is going to be what the stage is, and that's pretty fucking cool, hopefully, if that's what they do. At noob_n_co 1991, what is a Nigerian drum fight match? Is it inspired by Black Panther? I don't think it's a Black Panther-inspired idea, unless Vince just woke up one day and watched Black Panther, and that was where the genesis of the Apollo Crews character came from. I don't think so. I think it was a Crews idea, personally. I don't love the accent at all, but I think the character is great. The stipulation is stupid. I'm glad it does have a stipulation, but I guess be careful what you wish for, because this sounds dumb. But hey, if it's just a street fight, then that's cool. If it's like the dumb shit, like the Symphony of Destruction matches that Elias has had over the years, then no thanks. I mean, the feud does not fit that whatsoever. It's been this like grudge, this personal rivalry. So to then have them beat each other up with drums, I mean, that just sounds dumb. But then again, I shit all over Arcade Anarchy and ended up being one of the better things on Dynamite last week, so who the hell knows? At the Wrestle Guy, Sal, his first question was, John Cena, who I'm talking to later today, has appeared in some way at every WrestleMania since WrestleMania 19. Do you believe that streak continues and he makes an appearance this weekend, or does that streak end? Now, I don't think he's going to appear. I don't. Just because he did an interview recently with Shaq, and he had the Peacemaker garb on for, not Suicide Squad, but the new show on HBO Max. He was filming for that, and he mentioned even months ago when he did an interview, I think it was Sports Illustrated, when he was promoting a Super Bowl ad or whatever, he talked about how it would just be mathematically impossible, because he has to quarantine between traveling back and forth, and that's not exactly something he can do right now. So, listen, maybe he shows up. I think it'd be fucking awesome, unannounced. I think even 35 when he showed up, people kind of had a sense he'd be there. He was in New York anyway. If he showed up this weekend, that would be an amazing moment. We have not seen him since literally a year ago, WrestleMania 30, I think a year ago, not today, but a year ago yesterday, or a year ago Monday, or whatever it was, night 2 of WrestleMania 36. I think the streak is over. I think, he's made every appearance at every Mania since 19. He wasn't on the show in 19, but he was on the pre-show. I don't think he's going to be there this weekend. He could be on the show in video form. Honestly, that's what I expect, because I think John is very passionate about being a part of WrestleMania. I feel like he'll phone in via satellite, or they pre-tape something to air on the show, but I don't think he'll be there in person. So I guess if a satellite message counts, then he'll be there. If not, then no. What night of WrestleMania are you looking forward to more, 1 or 2? Both have matches I'm looking forward to. Probably night 2. I think Edge, Bryan, and Roman is the match I'm most looking forward to, period. And I think Rollins and Cesaro, yeah, I'm looking forward to that, but that might be night 2. I feel like Big E and Apollo is night 1. I don't remember. I know night 1 has Bianca and Sasha and Bobby and Drew. I'm looking forward more to night 2, I think, of the 2 cards. And that has Orton and Fiend, which could go either way. Night 1 had like Braun and Shane and Miz and Bad Bunny and the tag team match, which, whatever. The build's been fine, but specifically Braun and Shane, which has been shit. Any card that doesn't have that match on it, I'm probably looking forward to more for that reason alone. At E13A, did you know that Rob Van Dam is undefeated at WrestleMania? Yeah, RVD is 4-0 at WrestleMania. So, he won it. So what Manias did he win at? 18, I'm assuming. I don't remember. I know he's won tag team matches. I know he was a part of a tag team match at 23 that he won. He missed 21, didn't he? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he missed WrestleMania 21. He won Money in the Bank at 22. I know that. He won a tag team match maybe at 19. And then 18, he probably was in like a hardcore title match or some shit. I don't remember. 20, maybe the tag team title match was WrestleMania 20. I don't remember. Either way, I did know that. I haven't thought about it in a while. But yeah, RVD is the best record of anyone at WrestleMania that has not been defeated. Like Taker, obviously, but RVD is the only person with that amount of wins that's never lost. Meanwhile, you have Sasha Banks, who's like 0-5. She's never won a single match. She's the reverse Undertaker. Bray Wyatt was the reverse Taker for a while before he kind of sort of beat Cena last year. I'm not sure if that counts. But Wyatt lost at 30, he lost at 31, he lost at 33, he lost at 35? No, he's only had 3 matches. Yeah, because at 32, he just appeared, didn't wrestle. 34, he helped Matt Hardy win the Battle Royal, but he didn't wrestle. And 35, he missed due to injury, and he came back in video form and like vignette form the next night on Raw. So, yeah, he's 0-3. Sasha's 0-5. That's even worse. Let's see. At the Wrestler Guy once again, Sal. Who do you believe, if anyone at all, should get called up for the post-WrestleMania Raw or SmackDown? I think if anyone, 2 people. Either Karrion Kross. If Karrion Kross loses, I expect him to get called up. I don't want that right now, but I think if he loses, that's the only explanation, because why else would you have Balor win? And I love Balor, but like, you've done all pretty much that you can do with Balor as champion. Karrion Kross never really got an actual run with it, so I'd give the belt back to him. And if not, you move on. Like Drew, like he never really got an actual run. He was champion for all of a few months. Karrion was champion for all of like a couple days. But Drew never got the chance to get the belt back because he moved on. He got called up. So, yeah, I think with Karrion, if he loses, he'll get called up. If not, he'll stay. Io Shirai, even if she loses, and I don't expect her to, and I think she will, I don't see her getting called up that soon. I think she'll probably be down there for a little bit longer. I honestly fear for her on the main roster, given how they book some of these women. I also thought Adam Cole. I could definitely see Adam Cole getting called up if he loses to Kyle, which I do think he will. I think Adam Cole gets called up. Will he? I don't think anyone's getting called up. They just brought up Rhea Ripley 2 weeks ago. Damian Priest at the Rumble and soon after, so I don't think they will call anyone up. There's no crowd there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But if they do call anyone up, I think it would be one of those 3 people. For tag teams, any tag teams like Breezango, I mean, honestly, who cares? I can't think of any tag teams that would be like ready to move up, like Forgotten Sons last year, who should have never gotten called up anyway, but that's a different question. I don't know. Definitely one of those people, though. Probably Io would be least likely, then Cross, and then Cole as being the most likely of those 3. At E1 3A, what's going to happen on both nights of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver? That is the last question for today's video. What's going to happen? I already gave my predictions last week on WrestleRant Radio with RJ here in the channel, so you can be sure to check that out. And for the full predictions, just in a nutshell, I think Io is losing. I think Raquel Gonzalez wins the championship on night 1. I think Karrion Kross is winning the NXT championship on night 2. You know what, actually, if I'm saying Karrion Kross is going to win on night 2, then I'm going to go Io night 1. I know I'm going back and forth here, but I don't know if you have 2 heel championship wins in night 1 and night 2. So I'm going to go Kross wins in night 2, Io retains in night 1. I'm switching my prediction there. What else? I expect GYV, Grizzled Young Vets, to become tag team champions, which should be cool. I expect Jordan Devlin to win the Cruiserweight title or retain it, whatever. On to bigger and better things for Santos Escobar. What else? Tag titles. The women's tag titles I don't expect to change hands. I expect Ember and Shotzi to win. The Gauntlet, I think Dexter Lumis is going to win. I mean, they could have someone else win, but like, why do the Dexter Lumis feud if you weren't going to have him go for the championship? I don't really want him to win the title at all. I like Dexter Lumis, but I don't really want him as champion. But then why would you have him beat Johnny a few weeks ago if they weren't going to follow up on it? That's the weird thing. Don't even do it at all in that case. But yeah, that's what I expect to happen there. Pete Dunne, Kushida, probably Pete Dunne. So there might be more matches that I'm forgetting here, but those are the general gist of what I expect to happen at TakeOver Stand and Deliver tonight and tomorrow. Thank you guys, as always, for sending in your questions. I appreciate it. This has been a fun time. We are currently at 43 minutes, so longer than I wanted, but not nearly as long as usual, which is usually around like an hour. So at any rate, I appreciate you guys sending in your questions as always. This has been awesome. WrestleMania week has been so exciting and fun so far. I hope you guys enjoy the remainder of it as fans and here as subscribers to the channel. Once again, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. Rohit Raju interview went up today from Impact. Yesterday, Tommy Bechtold. And in the coming days, we got Kyle O'Reilly among a number of other people, including The Miz and Maurice, this weekend as well. So no time better. I say this all the time, but no better time than now to be a subscriber here to the channel and help me reach 5,100 subscribers as we head into WrestleMania this weekend. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm so fucking excited. And I think the news might already be out by the time this goes up on Twitter. But one of those people that I talked to, more than the other two, and the other two were great, it's an all-timer. For me, it was a big one. It was a big one. Like, it was number one on my... If I had a list of the top 3 people I would want to interview in wrestling, they would be in that top 3. That's how big it was, and I got it. I was able to secure it. I asked for it. I got it, and we got it done, and it's going up tomorrow. So you can check out the announcement on my Twitter page at some point today. I'm talking to John Cena in a little bit, so that's going to be blessed too, among all the other stuff. I got some other exciting announcements coming out in the coming days, so be sure to stay tuned for all of it on the Twitter machine and right here on the channel. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can please do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And be sure to drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Enjoy WrestleMania week, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.